I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Jesus Christ. First we can't hear it, now you don't have it ready.
I can't hear it.
There's a surprise.
My Apple device.
And now, Jabroni Studios, in association with Big Herm Productions, is proud to present to you, recording from an undisclosed location in Oakdale, Connecticut. It's Chris Burns. It's Chris Lynch. This is Dysfunction Junction.
And Matt Marsh.
And
Listen,
Quick, send the green signal.
Listen, if you guys see the countdown end and you don't hear anybody talk, that means the music's playing. It's sad that I have to write this down in crayon on the whiteboard so you guys remember every week. Well, you don't need to hear it. You know it's on.
Yeah, but
if I don't hear it,
I'll sing it next time.
I like the music.
I like the music too. Chaka Khan's already in the house. What up, Chaka? Our man.
Yo, Chaka.
Oh, I remember him from last week. Cool.
That's right,
yeah.
Chaka. We didn't ask you before.
That's a pretty impressive statement from you, remembering anything from a week ago.
That's a good point. That's a good Chaka. Tell us where you're from in the comments. I forgot already. For all I know, you're from fucking Zambia, if that even exists anymore.
YouTube. I've been watching his YouTube channel because I have you on. I have you on my notifications, sir.
I still got to check that out.
Yeah, link me to that. I totally forgot. Sorry, Chaka. Swig a beer to you. But now we get to the introductions. I blame Lynch for this because he told us to watch it, I believe. But you know, like Herm said in the description, have you ever seen a documentary that just made you say "what the fuck" 35 times or more? This is
Lynch, or was it me?
It could have been either of you, but that's usually the case.
It was Herm. And then I said, I just saw the preview for that. It looks really fucking good.
Okay. All right. So Herm remembers when he
really something.
So Herm remembers when he recommends stuff to us, but Marsh doesn't.
I remember the Vince McMahon thing that came up this week that I.
Yeah. We're not to see. You don't even remember last week. Look at you go.
Well, I remember you guys were talking about the Gary Coleman.
Gary Coleman, that's right.
But I don't remember what the other one was.
Chaka's got to be on the other side of the world. He says good morning. So way to go, Chaka Khan. Anyway, we're going to talk about an absolutely fucked up documentary. And if we say it's fucked up, you know it's going to be fucked up. Strap in, kids. Here we go. Welcome to Dysfunction Junction.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
My name is Chris Burns. Above me this week is the Possum King himself. The co-host is
Chris Lynch.
Chris
Mr.
Lynch.
Possum.
Down in the lower corner, who's kind of upset that Boar's Head is getting rid of liverwurst, the most disgusting food in the history of disgusting or food, is our friend Matt Marsh.
It's happening.
He's in California, but he works nights, so this is his morning. All right, Chaka, good morning to you.
He's like an hour behind me.
He's one of those guys. Whatever time you wake up, that's morning.
It's morning.
And the producer extraordinaire, the man with no hair, he is Big Herm, Michael P.S. Herman.
That is me. What is up?
Oh, so Herm, you may as well lead off because we're gonna save Lynch and I's quick hit to the end of the show. We're gonna dig right into the dirty. You recommend this documentary, Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter.
Well, I started it and then
all
right, now you guys have seen it, so I started it, and you know, it starts out with the mom, the birth mother, the mother.
Right.
And you're catching a story. And then there's talk, and there's I was doing some other stuff and was in and out with it. And then just started hearing, I'm literally in the kitchen and I'm like, did that bitch just say what I think she just said? And Jen's like, you got to see. I'm like, stop. So I had to back it up and watch it.
Okay.
So we're dealing with Andre and Alexis.
Alexis being the birth name, Andre being
we're talking about, and it's actually the same person.
Mm-hmm.
We learned that a young girl became pregnant at an extremely young age of somewhere around 14, 15.
Yep.
Her parents kind of pressured her at the time to do the adoption thing with the baby. There was guilt, but she did it. The whole point was the baby was supposed to get a better life. Then you're okay. And then all of a sudden it's the whole story switches to this random girl on her bike or what the first girl that we discovered, remember? It was right. It was the first girl.
Yeah.
And we discover there's a person involved in that, and they're a pedophile slash assaulter,
Rapist, assaulter.
right?
Yeah.
All of
We're not
that.
going to give away the good shit yet.
No. Then we find out that there's another crime that definitely implicates this person. Sketch artists have produced from now what's one is now become two victims associated with this person. They discover there's an association in both of everything with a red truck. And we start learning about who this person is. Now, we've also learned about this girl that was given up for adoption. We've learned about a girl that had trouble and was kind of runawayish. We've also heard about a guy who's done some horrible things, and we're pretty
That's an
sure,
understatement,
right? That but at this time we're just definitely sure it's definitely really fucked up and questionable at this point. And it's kind of like that movie Traffic.
Oh shit!
Okay, there's three
the correlation
stories going on here, and you're 45 minutes in because there's so much data that they need to give you. You're 45 minutes in before you get the first real what.
I'm gonna stop you there, because as like you said, there are 3 to 4 stories blending in, and each time I'm like, what does this have to do with this? And
that was me. I was so fucking confused. I was like, what wait, who?
Those were my first what the fuck moments, since you said, Lynch said in the comments, you're going to say what the fuck about 3,000 times. He was not lying.
Is this thing even edited? Is this film all even go together? What the fuck?
I wanted to know if Forrest Gump and Rain Man edited this film, because it just jumped in so many directions.
And then they drop the correlation on you, and you're like,
oh.
And let the nice folks know.
Did they just say what the fuck they said?
That one of them missing,
because you're like 45 minutes in. If I hadn't committed to watching this for you guys, I would have fucking shut it off after 10.
That's what I'm saying.
I
don't
know.
That's how I missed
how did
it.
You get sucked into it in the first place?
Right. Because I was in and out of it in the beginning, so I never really paid attention to how fucked up it was until I kitchen, and I heard.
What made you want to turn it on at all? Because you obviously had no idea what it was about.
I'm a documentary guy. I'll give anything a shot.
I am too. I'm just picky.
And I was too. And I didn't put a lot of faith into it. So this is why I threw it on. Jen was on her phone hanging out. I was in the middle of prepping some food and getting stuff going in the kitchen. So I was kind of listening. And then I started really hearing, and I was like, "The Jen?" And she's like, you need to come in here.
Oh, so, yeah. I look back. I'm sorry, Lynch. Go ahead.
No, at about that time that revelation is made, I had the same kind of experience. At the first half hour, 40 minutes, I'm like, what is this even all about?
Yes. Where is this fucking going?
So I'm going to be straight up with you. The birth mother was very off-putting to me. I'm like, just get this bitch off the screen. Just get this snooty bitch off the screen. She seems like a very demanding, high maintenance, better than thou.
You know what she was? She was very New York East Coast. That's what she is.
But then once you get through that first 45 minutes and
she's
know the whole stuff, you know more of the whole story, you see why she's like that. And I was like, oh shit, no wonder you're so fucking bitter. You got every fucking reason to be bitter.
When I know that something happened, and one of you guys is going to help me out, because it's been a week since I watched this thing. She's talking about giving up her daughter at a very young age, and how she met the guy and they got married real quick, and she moved to Massachusetts. I know it starts with the girl that was found in Madison, Michigan, or Madison, Wisconsin, right over the border. And as a Jane Doe, they need to find out because she knew her daughter went north, Midwest, north-ish. Could that be my daughter? And I know they reached out to a couple of different people, and a lot of the websites will tell you more about this. And she turned in DNA. And it turns out that Jane Doe was not her daughter. But now she's fully down the rabbit hole. She's like, I got to find my kid. Where's my kid? So she types in the date of birth or something, and she sees all these different things. And then there's another case where she got hooked to it when she found out who the...
Well, it's the guy.
Please.
It's the guy that she met that was doing cold case work.
Carl, what the fuck?
He's an amateur, but his tactics,
web sleuth,
right? His tactics are top of the notch.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. He's not a tinfoil hat guy. He's using, he's a data analyst, and basically all he's really good at is creating spreadsheets. And basically, he created a spreadsheet with like 10,000 different monitored points, so that you can start narrowing things down. And basically, he came down to a list that had 10 cases that this case that was across the river could have been. And her daughter's name was one of them at that point.
She was at the bottom.
She was at the very bottom of the list.
Right, but I don't remember, and maybe one of you guys can help me. How did she find out that Andrea Bowman, the adopted given name of Alexis, what the fuck, was Andrea Bowman? I don't remember where they made that correlation.
All right, so because during the investigation, when they find the daughter dead in the house, the father, the stepfather, called the police and reported her missing.
Right, that I remember. But when did she find out that that's her kid? I forgot.
So she was not considered abducted. She was considered missing. So what this web sleuth was doing was taking cold case files of unsolved murders, disappearances, what have you, and just compiling them into a database. And then once every other person on that list had an endpoint.
Oh, it was
left with 10 names. And
but the mother kind of got involved. She was just kind of trying to find her daughter to begin with.
Right.
So they
and then somehow reached out and through Facebook got in contact with some of the people that were Audrey's friends. And then that happened, and she was talking, and then there was the whole she disappeared thing, and that's kind of where she got like, where the fuck did my daughter go?
So she must have got some information at some point that Andrea Bowman was in fact Alexis.
Well, they were investigating the cold case. Now you got to remember, Chris, a lot of this stuff is happening at the same time in real time.
Right.
But the way they tell the story through the documentary, they tell it completely out of order.
It's like Pulp Fiction, but different.
I was just going to say, it's very Pulp Fiction style. It's all the scenes. You need to put them in order in your head, knowing what you know.
You have timeline 1, a daughter who went missing. You have timeline 2, who is actually committing the crimes. You have timeline 3, all these other things going on that happen to be around the same time within the same years.
Right.
Maybe
is a dozen other crimes, at least.
Oh, the police contacted the biological mother for a DNA swab because they had a hunch.
Right.
Okay, so
they had a hunch.
All right, so so that's where I was missing something. I rewatched it again like 2 days later, and I'm like, where does she make the correlation?
Because the police then discovered she was adopted, so none of the
then it goes to the Jane Doe,
and it ends up right.
So then it goes back to the Jane Doe in Madison, Wisconsin, and it turns out it's not the daughter, and then she just charges down the rabbit hole. And first, again, very off-putting, but good on her for keeping up the charge. Where's my kid?
Well, you have the Jane Doe in on one side of on the one side of the lake. All right. Then you had the girl on the bike. That was meta. The girl on the bike that he was trying to and had the gun, and she's flagged somebody down.
She was in the truck,
barely got away. But she was the one, and they correlated the red truck. But yeah, like we haven't even figured. I mean, we haven't even gotten to what the big twist that they drop on you is yet. So yeah, you've got all these 3 or 4 timelines going on at the same time. You get a little backstory on the on the biological mother of this girl. You get a little background on
The
the
adoptive
girl
parent.
herself, from her friends, and things and things start coming out through the friends, and that's how they disclose it in the doc. You start to hear twitches of things from the friends about maybe, I don't know, things might have been tough at home, or she was having trouble, and
Right.
then it proceeds to, it just kind of progresses from there.
Well,
So for me, go ahead, Lynch, please.
What was more telling is the stories that the friends were telling, that this poor girl was actually saying, I'm having a hard time at home because it's kind of abuse like, and
Yeah.
nobody took her seriously because of who her father was.
Well, the one, yeah, right. The one
Oh,
girl
no,
saying,
he'd never do that.
yeah, he'd never do that. Yeah, the famous final last words. The one girl that told the story of, I went and hung out, and I was supposed to have a sleepover, and while everybody's eating, we had to eat leftover sandwiches.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm already not liking these parents, Dennis and Brenda. And by the way, before we get to the end,
Well, there's also there's questionability too. They've provided a little bit of reasonable doubt within this story. There's the possibility she was doing drugs. There was some behavior reported on the parents' part. That was, some unsavory behavior. So you had these seeds of doubt. Unfortunately, also, we all know as parents and adults that adolescents tell some fucked up lies to their friends. Maybe, you know what I mean? So sometimes
sympathy card,
help. Well, sometimes the cry for help is more a cry for the child's own mental fucked up state, not necessarily a destroyed home life.
Correct.
Well, a lot of it is making claims for clout and status.
All right, continue on with the story, because I got some observations that have to wait until the story is told.
Well, okay, so within the first hour, as they're telling this story, I noticed once something that 2 people they were omitting, showing video interviews with.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I always tell.
So they were titling it such and such in, on a recorded phone call.
But we're an hour in, we have yet to speak to the adoptive parents.
Yeah, I'm like, so this guy on the phone sounds like he's talking from prison.
We'd only heard we'd only heard whatever the police, or we'd only heard voice recordings.
Right.
That was
of anything of the mother at this point.
Yeah, the jail phone calls, which is,
and we'd only heard
on a phone like that and it's recorded. It's a jail or prison. So then I'm like, they haven't introduced these adoptive parents yet. And then that's the next thing they do. These kids who met in high school, it was love at first sight. They got married very young.
Families loved him. He was so wonderful. His family loved her. She was so wonderful.
And then he joins the Navy and gets stationed in California and stationed down in Virginia. For California and Virginia, 2 very key points of geography that play a huge role in the documentary going forward.
Yes.
Because, and if we didn't say it, the documentary is called Into the Fire. I don't know if we said that at the beginning.
Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter.
The Lost Daughter, and it's on Netflix. It's a 2-episode, about an hour and 20 minutes apiece. Well worth the 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Absolutely well worth the time.
Please.
Unless you're Marsh, then you were hoping for liverwurst.
I can watch a documentary on liverwurst.
I would too. How it's made. So,
oh yeah,
you have some unscrupulous things happening in California and Virginia within a very short time period of each other, which, by the way, happens to be when other things happen behind the scenes. And then there's the date and time that the adopted daughter goes missing, which is a very key point. Yeah. So he calls him
for the benefit of our listeners, just so you don't know, Lynch actually went to school for a lot of what we're talking about, investigations and this kind of stuff. So when it comes to these kind of documentaries, I defer to him a lot of things, and he's gotten text messages at random hours going, "Have you watched this? What the fuck?"
So when the biological mother in the preview says it wasn't not under investigated, it just wasn't investigated. Because once you get to the very ending of this saga, everything they needed was right there, right there in front of them. All the clues, all the information, every piece of shred of information they needed was right there in front of them.
Yep.
So she ends up missing. His story is they got into an argument, and there was a little bit physical, and she fell down the stairs and stopped breathing. He allegedly tried to do CPR on her, blah, 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 blah. Short time later, he calls and reports her missing. And the story continues from there as where could she have gone? What's your forwarding address or anything, any clue left behind? She was 15 years old, just leaving home with money that was reported missing at the time of this.
Well, yeah, you've got two parts of the story mixed up. At the time, what happened was we later find out he claims that she fell down the stairs, but at the time he reported that she was there. He and the mother left. They left to take the mother to work.
Dinner. Yeah,
they left to take the mother to work.
He
took the mother to work and came home. When he came home, the front door, he came in the house, set the baby on the couch, went to go upstairs. When he got to the top of the stairs, the bedroom door to their room the latch was broken. Money was missing, and she was gone.
Right.
They even described what coat she took her purple coat and her favorite sweater.
Yep.
And all that bullshit.
Yep. And she left.
Yeah, you're right. I'm telling the story. I'm telling the after the fact.
Part of you, right. You got right. So at that point, she's been reported missing. She's a known runaway, troubled child. She took $100 and left. Now we find out that she was seen. Reports that she was seen at a grocery store.
And at a titty bar in Indiana.
Yeah, we find out there's reports that she was seen in the titty bar, that she'd been seen at a truck stop. So these reports all help to just, she is somewhere. People are seeing her. She's just not here.
Oh, when that came up later on, I was so angry. I wanted to reach through the TV and choke the shit out of somebody. I could not believe what that motherfucker said. But go ahead, please, Lynch.
So they're doing their thing, looking for the daughter, blah blah blah,
and everything goes dead. Every lead goes dead and dries up to shit.
So then we find out later on that this so-called upstanding, fine citizen, military man, was in prison for a short stint. I don't remember how many years he served or how many months.
Well, he did like 5 or 6 years, and
right.
This was when he was in the Navy.
78.
1978. This is after he had just been in the Navy for a year or two.
Yep, in Virginia.
In Virginia. Again, Virginia is a very key piece of geography here, and it's going to be a key piece later on too in the story.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he gets rung up for trying to diddle female sexual assault charges.
Yeah, it was sexual assault charges. I don't remember if that female was of age or not.
I don't remember either. I would assume probably of age because he got like, I think he got 10 years and he served 5.
Right.
So then he gets sprung from prison. Now none of this has been told so far. So now this is painting more picture of a doubt in your mind. How credible is this person? Is he really? Did he tell us the truth on the night of her disappearance? That he came home with the baby? You're right. He came home with the baby, put the baby down, blah blah blah. Sees the
Went upstairs.
went upstairs.
Everybody was gone.
Everybody was gone. The daughter's gone. He's missing money. Yada yada yada. So then we start talking about a Jane Doe across the river that they had discovered murdered. And they start pointing the finger at him with his past and his history.
Well, yeah,
right.
And you meet there's that, and then you meet Meta, and Meta makes the correlation between the red truck.
Yes.
And they determine
and Dennis.
that Dennis is the assailant.
Right.
Dennis is the one that killed this girl. Then they can't prove it just yet. But he's also the assailant with Meta. And now they're starting to question other crimes.
Well, they start to question the disappearance of his adopted daughter. So everything is real.
That was much later, after the case had gone
Right.
extremely cold.
Right.
It was years later until
Because there was a
involved.
completely new prosecutor and chief of police that came in, and they were like,
something don't smell right.
Right, and that's when we picked up later with the mother, and she was nuts, and the backyard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Burns, you want to pick it up from here?
Kind of. I kind of want to hear what Marsh thinks where we're at this point. You've watched it. From what we've laid out for the people out there who may or may not have seen it, or if they're watching this just to get what we think, where were you at this point when they start introducing the life and crimes of Dennis Bowman and Andrea's home life?
Yeah, well, yeah, and that, yes.
Your name is not Marsh.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Let's see, it was a little different for me for a multitude of reasons, one of which, like what Herm was saying earlier, when he started this, he'll pop open a random documentary and just kind of check out and see what it's about, and then he got sucked in at the 45-minute mark, which that's a long way in.
That's usually 35 minutes more than what you'd give it.
I knew what this was about going into it, so there was no suspense type thing.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, because we had talked about this.
Ish.
We talked about it, and then when you mentioned the documentary, because I don't typically get into anything without having a rudimentary knowledge of it. So
okay.
I had already freaking Wikipedia'd and all this other shit, so I knew what the hell was going on with it.
Oh,
so,
damn, look at you go.
So going into this thing, I read a few articles, stuff like that, and I went into it, and I wasn't sympathetic to the mother at all. I'm still not. But
the birth mother?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the I don't know. I mean, the story, I mean, the adopted father, I mean, he's clearly a freaking piece of shit. But I knew what was going on all the way through, so it's like the concept of watching a documentary, going in blind, it didn't have any of that shock value, like the moment, like Herm talked about, like at the 45-minute point where he was like, wait, what? Because I was like, okay, I already know where all this shit is fucking going. So there was no intrigue. It was, and it was a 2-part documentary. Whereas, I can go and read the entire synopsis of everything that happened. So it's like I went in, went through it and stuff. And it just, like I said, it didn't resonate with me. I mean, the tragic aspects of it do. It just was like,
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a society of trauma, so I'm kind of numb to it.
Right. Or
and you
perceived
and
trauma.
I unlike you didn't do any more research after everybody said let's agree to watch it. Then I started watching it and I'm like, oh shit, because I had to rewatch. I rewatched it again last weekend.
So you've seen it twice.
I've seen it twice.
So have I.
And I'm
assuming that was just to look for extra details that you may not have missed or what.
Right, because I'll be completely frank and honest with you. During the first episode, I fell asleep about half an hour in.
Right, and
that's how boring.
To me, it was an endurance trial.
That's how disconnected I was with the story because I was so off put by the birth mother.
Okay.
I just started.
I actually.
My wife will tell you. My wife can tell if I'm into something, watching a TV, movie, whatever show. If I do this with my phone and just start scrolling through Facebook
Right.
or checking the
Yeah.
weather, I'm not into it.
I was less off put by the mother when I was just reading, the factoids and the timeline and all that
Right.
shit and what
Right,
went
but
down, and even afterwards, and some of the stuff that happened way after the fact that's like going on today, which I think
yeah,
is a bit fucking much. But yeah, but I agree. Watching her on the video and stuff like that, that's kind of where I was like, oh, this one's just not likable at all.
I'll
But
buy into that, and only because I found it a little bit weird that it's 30 years after the fact, and you care about. And
that's where I
I'm
was.
not saying she was wrong to give the child up for adoption. I'm not at
No,
all.
circumstances dictate different,
And I'm
different
not
actions.
going. And I'm not going to point to how adoption and the vetting process goes now versus how it did in 1970, whatever, when Alexis
74.
/ Andre, whenever, how
Alexis
different they
Badger.
are. Alexis Badger, thank you. See, I only know Andrea Bowman. I remember Alexis, though. That's stuck in my head.
Mhm.
But to me, I'm like 30 years after the fact, now you care. Because you got this random Jane
Well,
Doe
not only
thing.
do you care, but all of a sudden you're like galvanized into this crusading machine.
You guys don't. Are you? Well, I'm not sure what the trouble is that everybody has with this.
I don't have any.
So-
I don't have any
No,
Oh,
I'm
problem
just
with it.
saying, I guess does not one of you understand principle?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
She's completely lied to, completely misrepresented. Her daughter died because of a decision she made that everybody, including her parents and the system, told her was best for the child. A shit system did a shit job.
A shit system. It had shit to do with her. She had already separated herself. My point is, and it's not, I'm not trying to speak out of school here, but if I had a child and I was a young lady, and I'm again, this is 1000% speculation, and I gave a child up for adoption, everybody has that dream. You're going to find your mom or you're going to find your kid and you're going to become friends. They're never going to be 1000% your child anymore. The one point I do have that I do find sympathetic is that no matter where she lived, who she was, or what happened, that still is her child from the bones down.
right, and she said that herself. From the bones
Right.
down, that child is mine. And
But why
Herm
now?
is jumping-
What happened?
Her-
What happened 15 years after you were married when she was, I don't know, 15 years old? You couldn't have
So-
looked then? There was no internet. I
Well,
understand.
no, that was issue because at that time, all right, at
there was no
that
doubt that
time,
her daughter was still
she
alive.
was still under the guise that she had given her daughter up for adoption, and her daughter was living 3 times the better life than she ever could. It was the day they said, we need some DNA because we think your biological child might be involved, that she went, oh, what happened? And then she found out all of that and went, well, now I have to do something. Just on principle, I was lied to. She wasn't treated well. There was no vetting process. There
it is. I don't know.
And I'm pissed because
There it is.
And that's literally what it was. She was pissed. She was
I get
mad
it.
that she was lied to, and what she did for a good reason is the guilt. I made the decision to give my daughter to that, and that's how
She
it ends
doesn't
up.
know who the family is. She never
No,
got to sit in a room
I understand that, but let's be honest, guys. We've had members of family die. We start analyzing fucking decisions we never have the fucking reason to.
Sure.
And things come down to, this is my fault.
Okay, I may as well bring the question up now. And I know we're talking 2024 versus 1974 or whenever the fuck it was. The
74.
vetting process allowed for this to happen. Did they check on the record of Alex Bowman? Alex Bowman, that's a race car driver. Dennis Bowman. I'm going to do that probably tonight on the Speedway review and call Alex Bowman Dennis.
That was the agency that they had all been reassured was going to do their diligence and didn't.
And they didn't.
You know,
but their diligence was probably different. Herm, think about it. Think about how handling kids in 1975 was different than how you handle kids now.
Not really. Yes, to a degree, but you were always supposed to try, and the whole point of an adoption, and that was to try and place children in best homes. I mean, we're
Right.
not. This isn't Annie in an orphanage and Daddy Warbucks here.
Right.
This was a fucking supposed to be a legitimate broker.
Mm-hmm.
So
what
you had said a few minutes earlier, Herm, about it being the principal. I got to that point by the end of the documentary.
Oh yeah, I think we all did.
I was being mostly facetious about who gives a fuck. Why would you give a fuck now? Because I gained sympathy for her at the end of the story.
See that
I could see
that
why
that resonated with me and pissed me off when you said it, because honestly, it sounded exactly the same words as Dennis on recording. Hey, she gave the baby away. Well, no.
Listen.
No.
Remember I said,
but that's how he tried to frame. Hey, she gave the baby away. She gave that child away.
She threw her away, is what he said.
I think that's one of the reasons.
As soon as he said that, as soon as he said those words, she threw her away. I was at where you were, because prior to that, it got me thinking about the adoption process, and that this piece of shit ended up with this child and ruined this child's livelihood.
Right,
and
you have to factor in a large quantity. This girl was 15.
Yes.
All right. So, this girl was 15. This is before that's it. She never had another child, was never with another man, nothing.
So when he said she threw her away, well, yeah, you asshole, you adopted her, and that to me is steel manning the argument that you're going to protect, provide, and do whatever you can for that child from this day forward.
Well, him saying that was him delegitimizing and devaluing the fact that she cared about what happened to the child.
Well,
and that's what that was trying to do. That was totally him. Anytime he used that in an argument in a conversation with his wife, it was always used as a devaluation of her coming around and knowing something's not right.
Right. Well, by him saying that, because I truly believe in the adoption process and being a foster parent, and that also says to why my wife and I do what we do with our dog rescue. Every soul deserves a chance. And when my dad was alive, after I graduated high school, there were two halfway houses in Noank. Most people don't know that. There's only one now. And we met a girl who kept running away from that home at 14 years old. And my dad said, Michelle, there's always a couch or a bed here for you. And he kind of took her under her wing. And I consider her my sister because that's how close we became. And with us not having children, adoption was always on the table for Megan and I. So I believe very, very strongly in the adoption process. And I know people who were legally adopted by foster parents who have gone on to become very fruitful, successful people. Josh, my old boss at the casino, one of the nicest people on the planet. He and his sister were adopted because the biological mother threw her away. Yeah, and yet you're exactly right, Herm. He said that to put that seed of doubt in his fucking retard of a wife who just followed him blindly, believed every word.
Gentlemen, some of you are not going to like what I have to say on this, but Jesus makes people do fucked up things. Everything they had that she had, that they had, it was centered around the church. It was centered around religion. And this isn't a dig on religion. All I'm saying is that it was the reason that things were legitimized, and it's the reason that they were always looking, that there was always the good, and I understand the good Christian concept, but this is a case where it was allowed to be taken way too far to cover up things that never should have been hidden.
BTK was a deacon in his church, so I understand what you're saying, and I'm not taking your.
I'm not meaning any form of offense or attack.
And am not taking it as a pot shot. I'm understanding your point, and the reason I'm chiming in is because you have people, even if you go back to Charles Manson, who used religion as well. I'm not guilty.
A lot of them did.
God told me to do this. Well, it's really nice, especially like when you get a serial killer who's at the chair and he goes, "Well, I've accepted God, so I'm forgiven." The fuck you are.
Well,
Really
see, I'm
works
gonna
that way.
That's
I-
then,
That's
and
like the
unfortunately,
mafia
that's the
forgives.
thing is you can use your faith to forgive anything. It's possible if you want to use your faith as that much of a shield. And in
Correct.
this case, that's what happened. The faith was used as a blind to not see
And
anything that should have been seen.
and that's why I'm not taking that as a dig, because I know you're not a religious dude. You know that I am, but let's be clear. How many times have we watched people use religion for their own benefit?
Well, and I'm gonna say something, Chris, that could possibly offend anybody who religious who watches our show.
Okay.
A lot of people who are very devout into anything and will buy into any line of bullshit. I'm not saying religion's bullshit, but
Right.
outside of religion are weak-minded people who
Yes.
don't have much guidance in the world.
A lot of
And
them get
people
sucked in
who-
that way.
And people
Yes.
people like Dennis are master manipulators. They
Oh,
know
of
how to
course.
they know how to talk and what to say and what to do. Because a lot of people who have that weak-willed and that weak mind, they don't have the confidence in themselves.
I got to run to the restroom real quick, but to your point,
So these guys do that. They build up the confidence.
Well, those are what that demographic you're speaking of is the group of people that go to church for the devout purpose of their going to church is going to fix their life.
Correct. It's going to fix
And
everything.
those people are looking for any answer. It can be any religion, it can be any cult, it could
Yep.
be any faith of any kind.
Because
Those
people fall
those
in
people
love
are
with cults.
just looking for something to fix them.
correct.
Because people
and
fall
the
in love
point-
with
the
cults
point-
for the same reason they fall in love with religions, because it gives them a sense of purpose and use.
That's the point I was
Yeah.
going to make
They
before
feel like
I
they
go to the
belong.
I got the gurgle, so I'm going to run to the bathroom.
Go run to the shitter.
While I'm squeezing it together. The
Just
2
go.
points quick. Shut up. The 2 points I quickly wanted to make was, the people that were at Jonestown believed heavily in Christianity, and Jim Jones led them down the path to death. Second, whether you like him or not, Paul Stanley made the greatest point about people who used religion as a shield. Have you ever noticed that the people who claim this is satanic and this is tawdry and this is this end up in a hotel with a cheap hooker?
Right? Because they're just as weak as everybody else.
Bingo. And we're all human. Look,
Right.
as a Christian, God's not going to save everything. You can pray tomorrow. Hey, I'm having financial issues. Can you help me? You can pray tomorrow. Hey, I feel sick. Can you help me? Faith is not about healing. Faith is not about asking God what he can do for you. It's the belief that someone is bigger than you, can walk you through life. It may not be the path you want to take, and you may reject it, but you know what? At the end of the day, you believe. Some of these people, and I'm going to put the Bowmans in this category, use their faith, use their religion as a shield, and it's fucking disgusting, if you ask me.
I agree with you.
She did, not so much him.
He
hid in plain sight within the church. It's kind of like
Well,
if you've never seen Capturing the Freedmans, go watch it. It's on HBO Max. I have the DVD.
Great doc.
Oh my God, depraved motherfuckers! And what they do is they use the church as a shield.
But people like Dennis are looking for people like his wife who have that weak will and weak mind. That's my whole point.
Exactly, I'm with you.
Pray, and people who do that tend to what? They like little girls because they can manipulate them to believe anything.
Unless you're Catholic, then you like little boys.
You can come with me, and you'll be rich and famous, and end up being human trafficked into a fucking porn life.
What was the name? What was the name of the documentary where the neighbor abducted the same girl twice within 5 years? It was on Netflix.
I don't know. Whatever her fucking Marsh is doing in the lower left corner.
He's jerking off.
What the fuck is that?
Oh, it's
One of those little wind-up hoppers.
motherfucker.
It was on the desk.
Yes, I've watched that documentary. I can't
It's an
remember the name of
Easter
it.
basket 1983 toy is what it is.
Happy Easter rabbit, hooray.
Hooray.
No, but going back to capturing the Friedmans, they did the same thing. Abducted in plain sight was the name of it.
Yes.
And this dude abducts the girl, goes to jail, comes back 5 years later. What does he do? He abducts the same fucking girl. And what does he do? He hides, but God said, no, God did not say that. I have a good feeling in my heart. I've never met the man, but I don't think God's going to say, hey, I forgive you for what you did, but take her again, see what happens. Maybe it'll work this time. I don't think so.
Yeah. That's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Duh. I'm going to the bathroom.
Sometimes it works.
Here's the thing. I'm going to play.
I got to hear this. I got to squeeze this off. Go ahead.
Play devil's advocate on this one.
Okay.
Okay.
Sepsis.
He did it once and he didn't work out, right? Well, you can't to find out if that was a fluke. You have to do it twice.
Oh, so he went on around and find out.
Right. It's not trying the same behavior and getting the same result.
You're right.
Until you do it a second time. So I'm just playing semantics here. You kind of have to do it twice for a history to happen.
Look at scratch off lottery tickets and slot machines. You got to keep
right. Why do they call them serial killers?
I'm just saying
they do it all the time.
Right. I'm just saying you have to do it
but they
twice
succeed
in order
every
for it
time
to
the
be
person
crazy.
dies.
That's a great point, Marsh. Oh my Lord.
But what did he say?
About scratch off tickets and slot machines. I call it the redneck retirement plan. Everybody's looking for that one piece of luck.
Sometimes doing the same thing every time works out.
Yeah, and sometimes
I stuff with my left hand sometimes.
That's not the same thing every time.
I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
You guys got to do like my mom did and just let the machines talk to you.
That's where I thought you were going when you said like my mom did.
That would have been better saying after the gambling thing, not the masturbation thing.
That works out too. But the gambling thing, you just got to let the machines
Sweet
talk.
Jesus.
Oh, I'm dying.
My mother
You think
cleared
you made it to the bathroom?
My mother cleared $500,000 out of that casino before they fucking moved, from the time it opened to the time they left.
They probably paid her to move.
My mother had the highest goddamn status there was. Like when she walked in the casino, she got her own host.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember we were having that conversation in the chat about how much your mother made. You know what? Some people just have that kind of luck. And the odds are in their favor.
You think Burns made it to the bathroom?
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't smell anything.
Yeah, he held off an awfully long time on that one.
Yeah, if it's turtle, I gotta go.
Yeah,
he
so
stop talking.
There's a lot going on in this shit, and then we find out how it's all connected, and it's just it's a lot.
So flashback to it was 1980.
That's actually flashing ahead.
No. Flashback from 2022 when he was going through his trial.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant from the time of the adoption.
No, flashback to 1980-ish. He's in his third year in the Navy. What happens in California?
Oh, that's the two girls, isn't it?
No, so two girls go up missing.
Those are the two girls. Those were the girls that were of age.
Yeah.
That were old enough, that were older, and not young girls.
Right.
He killed them both.
And then, right around the same time, September of 1980, young girl goes missing in Virginia, where he's stationed.
God, she was gorgeous. Even for 70s, she was gorgeous. 80s, whatever.
They were all very beautiful girls. They're all I'm not saying this is like anything
that's
positive towards him.
Isn't that the girl from Vale?
Yeah.
The one that was hanging out with Jack Nicholson, and the one that was, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was like hanging out with like the stars.
She was a debutante. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was something. Well, like I don't remember what she was, a lawyer, something she was doing, but she was.
So this new detective on the cold case files in was it Michigan? Opened up these old cold cases that were within his state. Now we don't know what happened to his adopted daughter yet. We're leading there by going back and examining other crimes that he happened to be stationed in at the time those crimes are committed.
Well, and we haven't gotten that far yet either, until we realize that they finally get her on we get him, and we get him in prison.
Right. So the
interview get him on that first girl in Wisconsin.
Correct. So he's in prison. That has been in prison for a little while. And this is when the phone calls that always recorded in and out of prison, and the video interviews with that gentleman who didn't call himself detective.
He was just John Smith.
Mr. John Smith.
Yes.
John Smith,
the interviewer.
Yes.
In the
from the 18.
Yeah.
No, not that. Stop it.
No.
This is when the picture starts being painted a little bit more broadly and a little bit more clearly. They find and open old evidence that has enough DNA on it to they get a sample in both coasts. The one in Virginia, though, is the one that's damning.
Yep,
because
that was my favorite scene, if you don't mind me saying, is when they arrest him outside like the Piggly Wiggly, and he doesn't know why he's getting arrested. Oh, he assumes that it's about Andrea, and they get him in the room, and the guy sits down, and he goes, "You don't know me, do you?" "Nope. I'm the guy you've been looking over your shoulder for 25 fucking years." And he puts his badge down. And he goes, "Norfolk." He goes, "Yep, you're the guy that killed the fighter pilot's wife in Norfolk in 1978, 19. And he goes,
"Yeah, because
I was never in Virginia."
They compared it to the DNA off the cup when they brought him in to talk about his missing daughter.
If that wasn't the most fucking brilliant thing ever.
So this is all
should get a fucking medal.
He's a double winner.
Yes.
So there's this. They introduced this investigator, and that's what I said is I didn't introduce myself as detective. I was just Mr. John Smith, and it builds a really good rapport with Dennis, who had his good days and bad days with his mood and attitude. It would change like the wind.
Yes.
So he became very, very close and friendly with Dennis, and got him to tell stories. Now they're pressuring him to just come up with, "We know you did it. Tell us what happened about his adopted daughter."
Mm-hmm.
So he dances around that for a while, then starts telling other stories about things that have happened in the past. And his wife vehemently denying, and everything will go along the way.
I'll get to her later.
Up until the bitter end. Up until the bitter end. The very end. So he builds a good rapport with Dennis. And he is assisting both agencies in the cold case.
Mm-hmm.
Cases. And that's when they reach out to the birth mother and ask for a DNA swab. And this is when she finds out why. So everything from the past and the very beginning of the episode 1 is all catching up to where they are currently.
Well, we found bones.
Right. I'm just saying, as far as
there was bones.
Not yet. They haven't gotten there yet.
They haven't gotten there yet. We're now understand her role in this whole thing, because now it's looking like that something they just need some DNA, because they want to prove or disprove some things. So they just proved that the girl they found across the river is not her. It wasn't her DNA. There was no match. But they hold on to that sample, and that's going to come in handy here in a little bit. So this drives the birth mother to the point where she's at in the documentary. Or I'm going to find out what the fuck happened. I was told that she would be safe. I was told that
this sicko had my daughter. My daughter is missing.
Well, and she doesn't know this yet. In real time, she doesn't know this yet.
No, he doesn't. You're right.
She doesn't. She doesn't find out till the very end, just like everybody else. So she's pissed off, and it goes into what you said earlier, Herm, about the principal. It's the principle that matter now. The decision I made at 16 years old, I was a 16-year-old girl who really was pressured into because my parents said it was the right thing to do.
I thought she was 14.
Whatever she was.
She was. She was 14 when she got pregnant, and she was 15 when she had the baby.
15 when she had the baby.
Because they told, remember, they got the phone call, and the baby was 6 months old. And then they called back later, and the lady said, "I'm sorry, I was wrong about the age of the baby." And she thought, "Fuck," and she was like, "The baby's 10 months old."
Right.
And she was like, "Oh, okay." But yeah. Anyway, keep going.
So, kind of lost my train of thought there.
Choo choo.
Yeah. There it goes. I hear you. So that's why she's steadfast and find out what the fuck happened. DNA sample doesn't produce anything fruitful in the case across the river. So she's digging in even further, and they're in correspondence with the detectives and this investigator back where they're doing the cold case. So there's constant information going back and forth. And then they start re-interviewing people and re-examining evidence, more evidence. They dig up a backyard of the prior residence that Dennis and his wife lived before they moved to the current home.
Right, the house that they lived in when she disappeared.
Correct.
Which just a few months later they moved out of.
Right. Nothing found there. Then we could move forward a little bit further. The case is progressing, and he's telling more stories. The interviewer is taking stuff that he already knows to be the truth and asking questions about it, which is what a good interviewer does. You don't ask a question you already don't know the answer about. You don't ask just an off the top of your head question because you want to
stupid.
You want to confront them with the fact that at the end of the conversation, you know what he's telling is a lie or the truth. So Dennis starts admitting to things here and there, but he tells a different story every time he tells a story. So he's an unreliable narrator at this point. So then they're just working off of physical evidence. So they dig up the former house's backyard. Nothing found, no bones, no nothing. Then he starts admitting shit to his wife. His wife, who I question did she have any culpability in this?
I wondered the same thing because look, if the biggest scumbag in this story is Dennis, the bigger scumbag in this story is Brenda fucking Bowman.
So I asked this question. I already know the answer. Can you be that stupid just to be that fucking ignorant to what you're finding out with factual evidence? No.
Yes.
But I still love him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
you
Rich, you can.
Same way she was in denial about the molestation.
You can say what you want. You can say what you want, but love makes people blind for the most insane reasons, sir.
Cock blind or pussy blind?
It's
blind devotion.
No, it's not even that. I'm just saying, love makes people blind to shit, and it just how it works. Yes, it's completely possible. Unfortunately, part of being in love is wanting to see the best in somebody, and that can be taken very, very much further. Look at how excessive the religious aspect was, which is something that falls back to belief. So it's an easy transition to see why all she has to do is believe he's a good person for it to be that extreme. As the religious aspect within their marriage.
But to his point,
and again, not a bad religious thing, but if you can take faith that direction, you can take the faith of love to that deep of direction.
But to his point, she doesn't know these things have happened until she's confronted with them. And that's where her stupidity shines. oh, my husband did all these depraved and nasty things.
I don't think it's
I
stupid.
don't. I think she's dumber than a box of shit. I think she's disgusting.
It's just pure ignorance for ignorance.
People
like Herb said,
choose
he's
to
devoted
not
to him.
want to believe things for all sorts of reasons.
There you
Right.
go.
Oh yeah,
Like
not my kid, not my wife, not my husband.
There's people out there defending P. Diddy right now.
Of course there are.
Yeah.
Diddy didn't.
Did
No,
he
no.
diddle?
Christ, how many people defended OJ?
Well,
Exactly.
OJ was framed.
Everybody knows it. Yeah.
By
So
himself.
because they have a lack of physical evidence about his missing adopted daughter, the
Mhm.
investigator starts pressuring him about. We know that's not what happened. So then he tells the first version of the story. He came home. She was there. They got into a fight. She wanted to go out, and they got into a fight. It got physical. He accidentally pushed her down the stairs. She broke her neck. She was gasping, wheezing.
Right. He pushed her, and she accidentally fell back down the stairs and broke her neck.
Broke her
Now,
neck and died.
To paraphrase Ron White, that was the part of the documentary where it's not that he's giving the correct information finally, it's how he finally gives the correct information, because he stonewalled the investigator until he says, I'd like to see my wife. And he brings the wife in, and then he told her 5 different stories.
Right.
Well, it's the fact that he said anything at all, and knowing that he was already an unreliable narrator, it was just to get him to say something, which is fucking brilliant on the behalf of those 2 police officers and that one investigator. Brilliant police work, because that's what you want to do. You want to break him down because he was steadfast. I don't know where she is. I don't know what happened to her. I've told you. I don't know where she is. And then what? Being pressured into a corner, he's backed into a corner. He knows I can't keep telling that story. If I just keep saying I didn't do it, it's not going to go away. So his brilliant idea is to say that story. I'm giving him something, because it takes that, in his mind, that takes the pressure off his back.
Yeah, but the
But
depravity.
the way he told the story does not make him culpable at all. It was
when he tells it, correct, but
when he tells that story, he doesn't take any responsibility. He just says, well, we got into a fight. It was her fault because she got physical with me.
Until he sits in front of his wife and says she fell down. I'm not going to buy I pushed her, she fell down the steps bullshit. Not in the least. The depravity comes when he says, I found this cardboard barrel and I couldn't fit her in it, so I cut her legs off.
There you go.
At this point, you already know, everything he said before that is bullshit.
You can ask my wife. He pulled that out, and I was like, she's not going to fit in that barrel. The human femur and from the hip to the knee is what decides how small you can compress a person.
I went to the
barrel doesn't have the diameter. It's fucked up. I knew that.
I went to
the mortician guy.
I was like, her body's not going to fit in that. He's going to have to cut her up. And he was like,
same here.
Cut her legs off. See,
dude, it was same here.
I told you.
I went the Kuklinski route. He kills Danny Deppner. Danny Deppner's 6'2". Yeah, I cut his limbs off. I put his torso in first, and then all his limbs, sealed the lid, and I'm like, fuck. What?
It's tidy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're gonna have to take her legs off, bro. There's no way.
That was the moment I knew. The falling down the steps, the falling down the steps story is bullshit.
So then every time he retells a story to his wife, he includes a little bit more detail about how I wrapped her in a white sheet and put her on a silver tarp.
Right. And then
the cinnamon
and there was the cinnamon singing all around.
Yeah, so he paints a very beautiful. Every time he tells the story to his wife,
woodland creatures gathered round like fucking Bambi,
gathered with
like
the bunnies.
Snow White.
Like Snow White was in the fucking house,
and we sang "Kumbaya" and everything was gorgeous. And
Davey and Goliath showed up.
Cucumber sandwiches.
You're making me nervous with those scissors, man.
Yeah, really.
All right, he can only fucking hurt himself. Don't worry.
That's what I'm saying. So every time he tells a story, it's a little bit more elaborate, a little bit more detail. Oh, I just forgot to tell you that. And she's okay, honey. I'm a fucking idiot.
Oh, and one of the phone calls where she says, I'm never going to forgive you for this, but I still love you with all my heart. I'm like, you stupid bitch.
What the fuck are you saying? Anyway, Not everybody has
I
common
think
sense.
given the right circumstances, anybody can get sucked into this kind of shit as far as believing, what you're desperately wanting to believe.
Well, with her, it's she wants his constant approval,
Mhm.
and she wants to be acknowledged by him every fucking waking moment of the day because she's weak and has no sense of self. Her sense of self is through him.
Yep.
So
I
now
am Mrs.
that
Dennis Bowman.
that her whole insight to herself is fucking demolished. She doesn't know who she is or what she is.
Oh, and I'm sure that
So every
started
time
from the
story
moment they
changes-
were dating.
Every time the story changes, her soul gets crushed a little bit more each fucking time because now she has to build herself back up to a different be a different person. Oh no!
Right, and
now I have to add another layer of bullshit to my life because he's
Whether-
telling lies.
whether or not she loves her husband, to me, is irrelevant. She's dumber than a box of shit. I don't deny how much she loved Andrea. Because as he's telling that story, and the way he blurted it out, Andrea's dead. She's been dead since the beginning. And she just broke. I don't doubt that she loved her adopted daughter like that was her own. My problem
I'm not
is,
sure that's why she broke.
why do you think she broke? I want to hear this.
I think there may have been some guilt going in there because early on, Andrea had tried to go to her saying she was being abused, and the freaking mother,
Oh, that's right.
was having nothing to do with it. So
That's
I'm wondering
right.
how much of that was an oh fuck moment. Freaking, she was right, and I'm an asshole. I don't know.
Right.
But
She
that
holds
still
weight.
goes back to the love she has for the child. Look how much I fucked up.
Right.
And
But
I
look
could
how
have
much I
saved.
fucked up part.
I
agree
could.
with.
I could have saved this young girl.
But yeah, there's definitely the guilt.
Well, and then they were also using geography as part of his to get him to cop to all this.
Yep.
So during one of the interviews,
Right, they were trying to get. They were right. They were trying to use.
They know they have no physical evidence,
keeping him close by,
right?
In Michigan instead of moving him to Virginia.
Right. So they were moving him back from Virginia back to Michigan, and he was the police and investigator were using that that's a card. That's an ace in the hole for them.
Right.
So he keeps stringing them along, but they keep promising him, look, we do this, blah, blah, blah. So during one of the interviews, they snuck in a glass of water. He drank from the glass. They needed DNA. And they know that if asked, he would refuse. And then they would need to get a warrant for his DNA. And that takes time.
If they don't ask and they just get it.
No.
If they just happen to accidentally trip over their own dick and find some of his DNA on a glass, boom. So they have his DNA. Now they have something to work with.
I had a revelation. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He is so compelled to want to be in Michigan to be geographically close to his wife. So it's, as in her words, we could have some sort of life. Maroon.
Right.
So after overwhelming guilt, I guess, or just tired of telling a lie this entire time, there's another level to the story.
Mm-hmm. I watched that scene. Before you get to that, I watched that scene, and I'm sure everybody on this panel will understand. If I ever killed somebody, this is how you're going to get my DNA. I'm not giving it up, but if you put a beer in front of me, I'm going to drink that sumbitch. And you have my DNA now, and I'm 6 shades of fucked.
So he keeps getting confronted with all this information. He's like, "Oh, fuck! If I do this, I can be close to my wife." Blah 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 blah. I think he now figured out in his head that they have his DNA. They don't say that at all, but he's smart because he's a smart criminal, smart-ish. He knows I'm kind of fucked here.
Yeah,
and the biological mother kept pushing. I want to know where her body is, and then they use that as leverage with his current wife. He owes it to you because he's been lying this whole time. He owes it to you, his wife, where your daughter is buried.
That's just not a great tactic. That is just absolute truth.
Well, it's a tactic that worked.
Correct.
He thought about it. He thought about it and thought about it, and then the truth comes out, and it's just as fucking unbelievable as the last 3 versions of the story.
Right. Well, the last
But he
story
was giving
he put her in
clues.
the barrel. He put her in the barrel, and he put her out with the trash.
Right. So now he tells the story. Let's pick up. I put her in a barrel.
He says,
I told you at the beginning of his confession to his wife and the police. She's really close to you. And this is on the phone prior to him requesting. He requested the cops come, which is very unusual. He requested the cops and his wife come because he had something to say.
Yep.
So they found that unusual. He comes in, sits him down, and he had said on the phone prior, before her getting there, she's really close. She's been right there with you the whole time.
Okay, I have to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Okay, because what we haven't divulged is that for
dollars,
4 or 5 years, maybe more, the mother had looked at pictures of the property.
Bingo.
As it had changed, and
by drone.
They looked by drone, but they went and looked at pictures over time from like Google Earth and Google Maps, all right, and aerials of the house.
That's right. She did mention Google Earth.
Then they did finally do that aerial with the drone, but from the beginning, even before the drone, the mother pegged what kind of guy Dennis was and told everybody, and she's buried in the backyard. I'll bet money not 20 feet off the back of the house.
Can I tell you the biggest? Go ahead.
Everybody on the fucking planet, every police officer in the case, even the guy that was running her drone and doing the investigating with her, thought she was absolutely fucking insane.
I'll give you my favorite fuck you moment is when Catherine Turkanian, the birth mother, took out the sign in town, helped find Andrea Bowman, and it's on the route that Dennis takes to work every day.
Yeah, she only plastered his drive to work and bought and a billboard. She spent money on a giant fucking billboard
right on his route to work every fucking day. I was like, you know what? I haven't liked you this entire fucking time. Now I like you.
Well, see, I was going to get there when I was going to continue telling the story that.
Okay, my bad.
I put her in a barrel. I dug a hole. And she's right there underneath that little structure that's been in the backyard for all this time. When they bought that house, he snuck her remains from the current house, the house they were in then, to this house, the new house, and buried her. She was there the entire fucking time in their own backyard because he buried her and then put like a wooden trellis over it, like a well cap. That's what we said. It's under that cap there. It's been there. She's been there the entire time. Send in the fucking clowns. Everybody comes in. And then they do a shot of the biological mother. And she says, I told you. Buried in that backyard. She had said that years prior just by looking at the evidence.
And at the time, you're right. Both of you guys are right. Everybody thought she was batshit fucking crazy.
And then they dig it up. They find the barrel. He described what she was in to the T. He was being truthful in how he handled her. Wrapped her in a white cloth, in a silver tarp, brand new silver clean tarp, chopped in half, basically at the knees. DNA matched. They had his DNA from that glass. They ran it with what they had for the remains. It was a perfect match for.
And then taking Catherine's DNA.
Correct.
To prove that she is who she is.
Correct.
And the thing that, anybody could say, well, that could be anybody. Pre-DNA, they said they found in her pocket a peppermint patty wrapper that had the expiration date of whatever month, 1989.
When she went missing.
How do you look at this and not say this is exactly who we're purporting it to be?
Yeah. And so that the truth finally, what we know to be the truth is finally out. I don't buy this. She fell down the stairs routine. Nope. I think he beat the ever loving fucking shit out of her. and he did such a disastrous thing to the body that if she were to be found, it would hide that fact.
I'm not even going to go that way. I'm going to go this way. I think he sexually assaulted her because he has a history of it.
Yeah,
I think that when she resisted, that's when he killed her.
That's what I would have to agree with.
Yeah,
that's that's the version of the story I'm believing. Because if they had found her with flesh still on, she would definitely have bruising all over her face.
Oh yeah,
her arms, her wrists, her thighs.
They found a sweater, a pair of jeans, some bones, and a candy wrapper. That's all it was left.
Right.
That's all that was left.
Now,
after
here's the part
years.
that pissed me off, and I only say this because this weekend I actually got to claim some of my dad's remains. Is Brenda, in a fit of niceness that I did not see coming from her, because she's such a twisted, fucking delusional bitch, offers Catherine half the remains. You were her mother first. Yeah. You deserve half the remains. And Catherine lost her shit. Well, what half am I getting? The top half or the lower half? Look, I got a thing about yay big of my dad's remains over the weekend, and I'm not wondering if it's his dick or if it's his leg or it's his arm.
No, it's not, that was my only issue with her. Was at the end I was like,
yeah,
I think
that was the olive branch that she should have taken and gone, thank you.
I think the adoptive mother
came to her senses.
Trying to rewrite history.
Well, no, I don't think it was about history. No. I think, look,
I'm not just talking about that.
The mother was the adoptive mother was under just as much manipulation and abuse as the daughter was in the house on different on other levels.
Different levels.
On any level,
I believe that woman loved that child.
I do too.
To the best ability.
That she knew how.
She was allowed that she was allowed.
Right, that she knew it. That how she
was
allowed to show how she did.
Her to show, and that's it. I think unfortunately that was a fucked up restriction for her. She was not allowed to be the mother she wanted to be with Dennis.
Right.
And I thought it was, and so I thought that was nice in a moment of understanding from woman to woman.
Oh, it was very much a great olive branch
mother
gesture,
to mother on different porches, but from mother to mother. So
right, and
then the birth mother kind of was offended by it, and I don't think there was any way, unfortunately, to make that woman happy unless she gave everything to her, and there'd still be some gripe.
There's
exactly.
Gripe.
You know what? I can
go ahead.
I can definitely see where she's coming from.
The birth mother is also currently.
You can see where who the birth mother's coming from.
Yeah, I can see where the birth mother's coming from.
Well, she's not legally entitled to shit, so I don't give her nothing.
But I can
exactly
as a person with a conscience, I can see where she's coming from because her conscience is what started this whole thing.
Here's the problem. The action was done by somebody was trying to be a mother. This woman did give up her child.
Right.
She was never had another child. She never actually was the mother role. So
she
doesn't understand sacrifice one fucking bit.
Bingo.
And this is my issue with that, is that you were never the mother role.
Right. See, I strip it of
you don't understand the mother sacrifice that the mother giving up half really is.
I strip the emotion of that whole thought process out of myself when I make statements like that. I'm just going at it from a pure logic and just being a person with a soul and a conscience.
There's nothing wrong with that, but
I can logically see why she was pissed. I can understand that.
You can have a soul and
to her core, it was still her kid. It's her DNA. I get it. I understand.
I'm with you, but you can have a soul and a conscience and whatever. But no matter how much I think Brenda is a fucking moron, Brenda was that child's mother.
mother. She was the
Raised
the
the child,
mother.
fed the child, clothed the child, did the things that Herm is talking about. And if you don't mind me saying, just for a side piece, I'm glad they didn't show her fucking face on the screen. How delusional is the fucking biological daughter, Vanessa, talking to her father in the prison going, "It's all right, Dad. This will all blow over."
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Okay. Again, snowballed by his lies. Just
I'm not
'cause
saying different, but she just steadfast. And
Well, I
as the
mean-
facts are coming out,
she's
she's still standing behind him.
She's just modeling the behavior she was shown by her mother.
that's how she's supposed to act, according to her, because that's all she's
Well,
ever
not
seen.
only that, Herm, and Lynch, I'm agreeing with you, but it's sometimes how you are raised is how you look at the world. Some people go a different direction, some people don't. And if you're raised to believe and stand fast by that everything Dad said is righteous and good, that's where you're gonna go.
Well,
And
that
Vanessa,
falls in,
Vanessa, for what it's worth, is living that lie.
right, because that
Well, it's her
whole
dad.
belief
Yeah.
that whole belief is what Herm is talking about, the religious aspect of it. Because a true Christian would, the woman listens to the man makes all the decisions. If you're
That's
going
not
from a-
Christian. That's
Let's not go
more
down that
Roman
road.
Catholic. But
right,
yeah,
but
That's
but
everything.
a true Catholic would do that. Sorry, I didn't mean to say Christian. A Catholic. That's
understood.
The husband is the breadwinner. The woman stays home and takes care of what family they have, and serves the man's needs. That's the truest of the religious aspect that Herm was talking about. So she believes
agreed.
that. She believes that, and so does the daughter, because that's how she was raised.
Agreed.
Again, I can understand why she said what she said, because that's all she's ever known.
And nobody
but
wants their
that's when-
dad to fall short in their eyes.
But that's when he throws that comment out. Well, she just threw her away anyway. So
Right.
to kind of downplay the fact that, yeah, I admitted to doing it. I'm going to be in prison for the rest of my fucking life, hundreds of miles away from you, because I'm fucking stupid and just couldn't tell the truth to begin with. Yeah. That kind of guy. He's used to telling lies. So he got good
Yeah,
at
but
it.
he's also, and I found him to be a very Manson-esque character, where he is a very manipulative and deceptive person, but he had people, Brenda, Vanessa, the community, who bought into everything he said.
Because he had built the rapport and established that rapport that he was just an all-around nice guy.
Jim fucking Jones.
That's the picture he painted.
Yeah.
So then once
And
he
it's
gets
very-
when you're dealing with a psychopath and a manipulator like that, once they get you at what they perceive their comfort level, they're gonna start using and manipulating each and every one of everybody in their life and their relationship.
Sure. Even
That's
Barbara
the mind of a
Kuklinski.
criminal. I want to get you
Even Barbara
comfortable.
Kuklinski, until the day her husband was convicted and she filed for divorce shortly thereafter, was like, when he got arrested, we didn't believe it. Not our Richard. And what happened?
I mean,
he stands in front of a fucking court and says, "Yeah, I killed Danny Deppner. I killed Gary what's his nuts. I killed Robert Dufresne. Killed everybody. And this is why I did it. And this is when I did it." And that's when she's like, "Oh shit, I was wrong." We didn't get that with the Bowman family at all.
Well, and I found it kind of telling that when the one detective was talking to the other detective on the cold case file, and says, "Yeah, I got this guy Gary, or I mean, last name Bowman." He's like, "I know exactly who you're talking about."
Yep,
he has
Dennis
a record
Bowman.
with Dennis Bowman. He has a record with us. So
at the convention when they meet up and they don't know who the fuck
they don't. They just happen to be. They happen to run into each other. That's fucking kismet and karma,
bro.
Kismet and karma.
Yeah.
But going in blind, it was very rare that I find a documentary that kept my attention once it got my attention. I plowed right through it. Then I watched it again the other day, last weekend, so I could just freshen my mind. Because as fast as shit goes in, shit leaks out nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you forget what you
Welcome
had
to
for
old
breakfast.
age.
You forget what you had for breakfast yesterday. So.
What are you taking for a multivitamin?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I take a Walgreens 50 and over.
I take, was it the one a day, men?
All right, you dumbasses need to change
Whoa,
to the Centrum 50 plus.
I'd take a 50 plus.
Multi. The Centrum. It's
Okay.
the
I think I
gummies.
need the name brand.
You take gummies?
Okay.
No, I don't take gummies.
Take a pill?
No, I don't do the CBD shit.
No, you like no
It's not
for a
that.
multivitamin. So you use what kind of multivitamin do you take? Like a regular old pill?
You see
Like
how
Yes,
this
the
the ground up
Yeah.
See
rock
how-
kind? Okay, so none of that is soluble into yourself, and that's why when you do the first pee afterwards, it smells like a vitamin. Switch to a gummy vitamin. They're made with liquid vitamins. They're soluble. They stay in your system. You don't pee them out.
This is
Centrum,
called
50+
this is the
gummies.
segment called Herm Ruins Everything, because if we're not doing what Herm does, Herm's pissed off and he tells us all the shitty ways that we're living.
Look,
Yeah, well,
switch
No,
to
I appreciate it.
switch. Even if you don't switch brands, switch to a gummy because they have to use the liquid vitamin
Mm-hmm.
versus because all the tablet is legitimately crushed up rock pressed together, and it
Right.
That's
doesn't
why I
stay
take the
and actually
gummies.
help your body. If you take the gummies, it's a better vitamin for you. Doesn't have to be Centrum. I like
Yeah,
the
I'll have to-
Centrum; they're the best, but gummy vitamins are the best. They're
Oh,
one
we
or
got
two.
like 3 minutes left, and I want to say my piece regarding the freaking birth mother.
Do
No,
it.
go ahead.
Go,
As far as Kitty,
Is that a crow? Oh, I thought it's a cat.
Oliver, beat it.
so going back to the whole thing with the sympathy with the birth mother or lack thereof, what I was saying earlier about how when we were talking about how she wants, they were offered her like half the remains and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
This wasn't touched on by you guys, but I don't know if the birth mother also is currently in legal proceedings trying to change Alexis's last name back to Badger.
Why?
She is like it. That's why I was going with this thing earlier, where she was like, she's trying to rewrite history. And I understand she's not technically trying to rewrite history, but she wants the remains. She's actively pursuing litigation right now, trying to, even though she has no parental rights, and she is openly hoping that the documentary, the popularity or notoriety of the documentary will cause pressure for legal authorities to give her the name change.
Dude, that's just fucked up.
Yeah, that's overstepping a big line.
Like I said, I did a little bit. Well, I did quite a bit of reading after.
I was going to
this whole
say
thing.
you did do a bit of nothing. That rabbit hole.
Nothing went rabbit hole
That
Jones.
hole is right deep undercover. It's
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I would have probably not even paid much attention if they just said she was trying to do it, but she openly stated that she was hoping this documentary was going to, send
Sympathy.
whatever awareness, into
Yeah.
the stratosphere and pressure them to give her, this thing. So I'm
Yeah,
like, you're not going to get her back.
Because if I garner enough sympathy, I get what I want. That's
But it
another
doesn't
fucking.
change
She's
what
just as
is, and
psychopathic
that's-
as the other person.
Right.
Oh my God, this girl.
no.
I hate to say
Unfortunately, the mother needs some therapy, and she's really just trying to heal some pain.
She's trying to, she's looking for a way to cope.
Which,
Like I said, I'm
She's
not
looking for some-
completely
She's looking for
unsympathetic to her.
closure for much more than just
Yes.
the death of her daughter.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Unfortunately.
No,
if
probably.
this is how she goes through that process
stuff
of
that goes
closure,
all the way back
so
to her
be it.
being 14.
Yeah, it goes back to giving away her daughter.
Right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's a whole
I could have
mess
saved
of
her.
life.
This, that, and the other.
There's
Yeah.
a whole mess of decisions and years of thinking a certain way that
Then you
just
question-
are destroyed for her now. And
Then
We
you
get- we
question
can-
every decision you've ever made.
Right? Can we go 3 extra minutes? Because I have to ask this question.
yeah,
Who said
go ahead.
savior? Just now, who said savior? Like she's trying to be the savior. I heard that word come up.
It was either me or
Catherine,
Lynch.
It
Catherine,
was
the mother.
me.
Okay,
It's
so
me.
the savior complex, it's over. You've done your due diligence. You were the savior to find out what happened to your daughter. Let it go. Nothing is going to
It's
change
never
if you
going to
have
be
it
enough.
right.
no, this
At
is
some point-
this is a form of selfishness to heal many
Your
pain,
soul.
many
Yeah,
pain.
she's trying to
Well,
heal her
it's-
soul. She's not
It's
trying
beyond
to.
closure.
She
It-
got
it just-
justice. It's over.
She's just playing into her narcissistic side of her psychopathy because she's a narcissist. So of course, anything she says is more. It hurts more. I have more pain than anybody else in the world.
So she's a Democrat.
So she, yeah, probably. She's playing into that part of her narcissism. That
Shut
my
up, Herm.
pain and my grief. You don't understand my pain and my grief. You won't. It means more to me than it does to you. That she's playing into that part of herself. So I don't agree with the decisions.
Well,
that
she's
made.
trying to
I can understand because of how she acts that she would come to this conclusion.
as a victim.
Right. She's painting herself. She's the victim.
It's
Look at me, look at
self-soothing.
me.
That's all that it is.
Yeah,
It's self-soothing.
It's stroking your own tits to self-soothe. I mean, you're jerking yourself off to get to the point where you feel better about yourself. And a person like that,
sexual innuendo there, Lynch.
yeah. Well, a person like that. Well, that's just all it
stroking
is.
her own tits. Then she's jerking herself off. What the fuck?
It's just you're stroking yourself to the point of numbness where it doesn't matter, because
I've done that.
No matter who fills.
What's next? A finger in your ass?
No matter who fills that void of whatever emotion you're looking
now
for.
he's filling voids. Jesus Christ.
Vienna sausage.
Well, I'm gonna go fuck off over here.
Listen, I appreciate this spirited conversation and the debate over Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter. We will have to find another documentary that will take our attention so much that we could do this again.
I'd like to see another episode of Natalie Grace.
Natalie Grace. There's another season being produced, so
that's what I'm
keep
saying.
your eyes open.
I'm waiting for it. We know that something's coming because that motherfucker lost his mind at the very last minute.
Oh yeah, and called the cops like, dude, she's lost her shit, and I don't want her being around my family.
Yep.
Hey, Scottish geek guy, we see you out there.
What's that?
Scottish
geek guy. What up? I might ask you where you're from, but I have a good feeling I know.
Heard
he's from Scotland, or he's from France. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, albeit late.
Zimbabwe.
We're gonna get out of here. We'll be back live at 8:00 tonight with the Speedway review. Please check that out if you're a NASCAR fan. If you're not, just please check it out. Unless your name is Marsh, then you're gonna eat fucking liverwurst and jerk off all over yourself. But
whoa.
I love episodes like this because it takes what we usually do, which is mind numbing or numb minds, and creates fun. And I think this was a fun conversation. Herm, thank you for suggesting it. Lynch, thank you for your insight onto the investigative aspect. Marsh, I loved what you had to say at the end. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's because you did the dig deep.
Yeah, you did. You went deeper than I thought you would.
Speaking
of going deep, Marsh has some liverwurst to devour, so we're gonna get out of here. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with special guest Tim Robichaud, and we're gonna do the next week is the
Fall Guy,
the new Fall Guy. And then
very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Marsh can stroke off to his cheesy 80s Fall Guy Lee Majors.
I'm gonna miss that. Actually, I'm currently binge watching the Fall Guy TV series.
Oh god, that's so fucking sad. On that note,
it's sad on a lot of levels.
We gotta go, brothers and sisters. Peace. I killed a bunch of people once.